Hello survivors and welcome to the Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we are going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Mu, who is, I believe, going to be coming to the game in the future as an advanced token wheel character. I'm not exactly sure of the date, it could be over a week away, but this character is being given to some people who did perform in a recent event. Copies were given to people based on their performance, and some people even got up to 5 copies of the character, which is pretty cool. I hope maybe they're going to do this in the future, because it was actually quite a nice idea, and I think it had pretty good participation. And when it comes to this character's visuals, it is a Whisperer. We've never seen this Whisperer before. Obviously, they've got to buff out the Whisperer teams a little bit, and they've got to pretty much invent characters, and Mu is an invented character. On the right-hand side, you can see the character, quite a small-looking character. I don't think it's an adult. It looks like maybe like a teenager. And on the left-hand side, you can see it in a bit better detail. Got a very vicious blade there, and someone is in a lot of trouble for sure. If we look at the stats, at level 1,600 limit break 3, Mu has got 34,586 attack, 28,043 defense, and 30,847 HP. It's going to be a fast character, going to be of the damage roll, of course, going to be a Gold Mythic, and like I said, and pretty obviously, is going to be part of the Whisperer's allegiance. Now, checking out the Adrenaline Rush is called Deadly Intervention. It has got a recharge rate of 66 AP, remove defense up from an enemy, deal 800% damage to a line of enemies, plus 400% if there are 3 other Whisperer's allegiance teammates. So this is pretty basic Adrenaline Rush. Removing the defense first is very nice, particularly because this character is a deal damage character. Generally speaking, deal damage needs no defense on the other characters. Even in like a 30 or 40% defense buff can be very, very bad. And this is going to be quite a nice hit. 800% damage. The character's base attack is not super high, but they will be getting buffs based on their special skill over the course of the fight. And if they are going to be in a team with other Whisperers, it could go up to 1200% damage. And if you use them in the stellar roadmaps, they will have other Whisperers in the team, and that should be a 1200% damage Adrenaline Rush. Pretty basic. It's just going to be pure damage pretty much. But there are different things that can happen, like I said, the Whisperers scaling up a little bit. Okay, so here we are on turn 3, normal Adrenaline Rush turn, and we are going to come up against a character that has 400% defense. Generally speaking, this is very problematic to deal with when it comes to using any kind of Adrenaline Rush, deal damage, anything that crits, anything like that. But against deal damage, obviously, we can't crit, so we can't get that massive explosive damage, so we need there to be no defense on the enemies. There is none in this case. We can do the Adrenaline Rush. It should remove the defense first, and then apply the damage. We have only got Mu in this team, so it'll be an 800% hit. But we do the Adrenaline Rush, and you can see it will do enough to take out the characters. We have got quite a large attack buff on the team, as you can see. But this is because of the specialist skill of Mu. Going over the upgrades of the Adrenaline Rush, you can see at grade 3 it gets an upgrade where you remove defense up from the enemy. And this is obviously very nice because defense on a character is a problem. I would say it probably is going to be the target that you actually select for the deal damage to align. So make sure you select the character that you want to remove the defense buff from. The next one's going to be at grade 5 plus 200% damage. So it'll go from 600% damage hit up to an 800% damage hit. But that's 2 copies, not too difficult. But at LB2, which is 4 copies, upgrades comes in with a 400% damage boost if there are 3 other Whisperer's Allegiance teammates. I primarily see this right now as being something for the Stellar roadmaps, but there have been some Whisperers coming out, so you never know. There does have to be quite a lot of other Whisperers in the team though. It would have to be an extremely nice team, kind of like the Lone Wolves attack team was, where you could actually use 4 Lone Wolves characters. You would have to be able to use, 4 Whisperer's characters for a war attack. But in those Stellar roadmaps, it will definitely work. 1200% damage, and obviously it gets scaled up with the damage buff that she's gonna get from his specialist skill. So, like I say, should be pretty good damage by the time you would naturally get this Adrenaline Rush off, which is normally going to be at least turn 2, but most likely turn 3. Now the next thing we're going to look at is going to be Mu's signature move, and it is called Shadow Strikes. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 1 turn, number of uses unlimited, remove camouflage and focus from 3 enemies other than the target, attack that target for 300% damage, but plus 1 attack for each other Whisperer's Allegiance teammate. This fighter gets camouflage for 2 turns. So this is actually pretty interesting. The removal of camouflage, generally speaking, is more of a defense team, thing, like actually removing it from attack teams. But if a defense team does have camouflage, it can be obviously pretty annoying. And there are, I believe, some of the Stellar Roadmap stages that do have camouflage, so this could be quite nice. There isn't heavy AoE on teams with Whisperers, but I guess Mu's Adrenaline Rush is line damage and could potentially get blocked by camouflage. Obviously the camouflage removal comes in first, and then the attack comes in. 300% damage doesn't sound like a lot, but it potentially can do 6 attacks, I believe. Or sorry, it would be 5, because plus 1 for each other Whisperer's Allegiance teammate. So it'll be the initial 300% plus the 4 other teammates, making it potential of 5 total attacks and maybe 1,500% damage. Now, obviously it would be quite nice because you could potentially just go around nuking each character. However, it does add one small thing to this, where the character has deal damage on their Adrenaline Rush and crit potential on their signature move. You generally have to kind of go one way or the other. You don't really want to lose out on too much attack for that Adrenaline Rush, but you will get bonuses from the specialist skill, so maybe it's not too bad. So here we are off of turn 1, and I'm just going to basically show you how this works. I will do the signature move, and it should just do 1 hit for 300% damage that can crit. Pretty much as simple as that. Because this character is the only character in here and there are no other Whisperers, then there's going to be no other bonus hits. However, as we have got Silent Charlie here, there's now 2 Whisperers in the team. If I was to do the signature move of Mu, it should do 1 hit onto Kenny and then 1 hit onto somebody else. So 1 hit comes in and a 2nd hit comes in. And that's basically how it works. For every other Whisperer comes in, Silent Charlie being 1 other Whisperer, it would be an extra attack up to a maximum, I guess, of +5 if you did use this on a roadmap where you could use friend assist with another Whisperer. But generally speaking, it would be a max of +4 on the Stellar roadmaps and where you're primarily going to get that bonus. Jumping straight into the upgrades, you can see at grade 2, which is 1 copy, it gets the upgrade where this fighter now gets camouflage for 2 turns. At grade 4, still 1 copy, it gets +1 to camouflage and focus removal targets. So initially it is 2 targets and it gets pushed up to 3. I didn't actually see that it had focus when I was looking at it before. I was just focusing, no pun intended, on the camouflage. Focus removal is nicer if this character is on an attack team. Focus on a defense team can be very annoying indeed. You have focus stun weapons, it's more likely to occur like that. Then at Limit Break 1, it gets an upgrade where it's +1 attack for each other Whisper Allegiance teammate. This is pretty massive, especially for the Stellar roadmaps. And then at Limit Break 3, it gets -1 to starting cooldown and -1 to cooldown. So it goes from a 2-turn starting cooldown and a 2-turn cooldown down to a 1-turn starting cooldown and a 1-turn cooldown. This character potentially could be used on defense teams just because of like the camouflage removal and the focus removal, especially if hidden behind a shield. Does have reasonable defensive stats, was pretty balanced. It only had 30,000 of each stat, but would have to have something or someone keeping this character alive, because if they didn't have any shield or something like that, or bodyguards to save this character, there'd be a lot of trouble for sure. But generally speaking, would be more of an attack team character. The potential is not too bad. On the roadmaps, I think there is quite a lot of stages with camouflage and focus and stuff like that, the buffs and the good stuff, but the massive multi-hit potential is big. Characters have so much stats on those roadmaps. You might not necessarily hit multiple targets, but you will hit the same target multiple times. And if you team this character up with other Whisperers, some of the new ones, they do actually have disarm, so could be quite nice utility when it comes to the kind of team up with the newer Whisperers and some of the older ones as well. Now, Mu, of course, has some mythic abilities. These are the passive skills. First up, we have got agility, because this character has got the damage roll, where it gets 20% increase in basic attack damage. This is only going to work on the snitch move and basic attacks, but that's going to work with each of the individual attacks from the signature move, so that should be pretty worthwhile to upgrade. The next one's called Serious Focus. At the start of each turn, 50% chance this fighter and a teammate get focus for 2 turns and a Guardian Shield. This is at the beginning of every turn. While it is only 50% chance, if on the Stellar roadmaps, for instance, those can take like 4 or 5 turns. This is going to proc. This is going to be Focus and Guardian Shields, which is going to be nice. There are some characters on those roadmaps that can do some control, things like Confuse and Taunt, and this is going to obviously help you there. Guardian Shields are just nice to stop you from getting hard focused as much as well. The next one is called Abandon Hope. At the start of each turn, 90% chance to remove Halo from 2 enemies. This is actually pretty awesome. It is only 90% chance. I think it would have been better to just have 100% chance to remove it from 1. I don't know, that's my personal opinion. But it is at the start of every turn. It does mean that like 1 out of every 10 turns it's not going to occur. So it isn't that bad. But yeah, people will always look at that 10% and think, it's not going to be as good. But it is very good. Obviously, Halo's everywhere. And this is application of Halo 2. So if a character dies from like burn or bleed, and then they go into like Outlast and give themselves Halo, this should potentially remove it. And I'll try my best to do this. It might be a bit difficult, but let's have a little test. But the last passive is called Prone to Violence, plus 30 more attack and defense from aggro specialist skill activations. This pretty much means double. I think initially it was 30 per turn. This is now going to be 60. So effectively you could see this is like an aggro 2 specialist. So on the first activation of this, it should give 60%, and the second activation it goes to 120%. That's why you saw the buff before. The character had a 120% attack buff and defense buff. That wasn't because I waited 4 turns. That's because I just did it on a natural turn 3 for the adrenaline rush. Okay, so here we are attacking, and as you can see, we have got Burn on Vance here. So he should go into Outlast on his turn. When it comes back to my turn, will I remove that Halo that he gets with Mu? You can see I have removed the Halo from Clementine, who gets it at the beginning of the fight, and that's going to be good against, you know, the Telltale teams and any other teams that just apply it at the beginning of the fight. But this particular one could be an interesting one to find out. The character should get taken out, and it does remove the Halo when they go into Outlast like this. However, I did test it, and if they are already taken out, so for instance, if I use my Adrenaline Rush, like I would, or if I take the character out like this with Mu or anybody, if I can even do that. Let's see if we can actually take out the character. Okay, there we go. With Vance, the character goes into Outlast. At this point, when they get dropped to the floor, I'll hit the defend action. This character's going to go down. When they're on the floor with Halo, he doesn't remove it. He doesn't remove it in that scenario. It's only when they're standing up, you know, and it comes back to your turn. So if you have to kill someone with damage over time for that to occur, generally speaking. But that's kind of just a niche usage for the Halo removal. The main one is just to remove Halo when it's applied at the beginning of the fight. When it's applied continuously throughout the fight, this character will remove Halo, 90% chance, but remove Halo as the fight progresses, which will be very useful indeed. Now, if we look at the upgrades on the passives, you can see at grade 1, we get the first half of Serious Focus. At the start of each turn, 25% chance this fighter and a teammate get focus for 2 turns and a Guardian Shield. You might have seen that proc in the previous clip. On grade 2, it gets Agility, or the first half of Agility, plus 10% increase in basic attack damage. This will work with each of the attacks of that signature move as well. At grade 3, Serious Focus comes in, number 2, and it now be 50% chance that a teammate and Mu get focus for 2 turns and a Guardian Shield. And then at grade 4 and 5, you can see Abandon Hope Part 1 comes in at the start of each turn, 30% chance to remove Halo from 2 enemies. At grade 5, Prone to Violence Part 1 comes in, where there's 15% more attack and defense from aggro specialist skill activations, which I'll show you with the specialist skill preview. Moving on to limit breaks, Agility 2 comes in, making a 20% increase in basic attack damage total. At limit break 2, Abandon Hope 2 comes in, making it 90% chance to remove Halo from 2 enemies. This is the beginning of every turn, so it's got a very good chance to occur throughout the fight. By turn 2, you potentially could have removed 4 Halos from enemies that potentially could have had them from, you know, at the beginning of the fight, or just giving themselves Halo. Like for instance, there are some characters that just give themselves Halo every now and again with signature moves, like Nor. If there's only one character with Halo, Mu could just potentially just remove it. And this is going to work on those roadmaps and on obviously War and so on and so forth. At Limit Break 3, we're going to get Prone to Violence 2 come in, and it's going to be 30% more attack and defense from aggro specialist skill activations. So the passives are quite nice for Mu's kit for sure. Obviously boosting the specialist skill up to potentially, you know, you could see it as a, you know, aggro 2 specialist. And then obviously you've got the Halo removal. I think that's the big draw here, is the Halo removal. A lot of Halo is everywhere. You can see a lot of people complaining around, of course. It can be very useful on the roadmaps for sure, because you're actually kind of like racing against time. And if a character has Halo, they're going to be picked back up with quite heavy stats sometimes. You know, 75% Halo on a character with 150k, that potentially is going to be, you know, over 100k HP. It's pretty brutal to deal with. And then obviously in War and stuff like that, it just slows you down. It slows your scoring down, so you want to obviously keep characters down that you do take down, and that's going to be more likely to occur when Halo is getting removed. So that's actually very, very nice indeed. So overall, not too bad when it comes to Mu's passives. Now we'll just go over the specialist skill, and it is of course aggro. This fighter gets 30% attack and defense at the beginning of each turn if they were not directly targeted by a successful attack or ability in the previous turn. Bonuses given this way stack with each other, and other bonuses, it resets on a new wave of combat. So for instance, let's say I was attacking and I took 2 turns, it would then go up to plus 60%, but with Mu it would go up to 120% because we get plus 30% with each activation. If someone did attack me, it wouldn't reset it down to 0, it just wouldn't add another 60% on top until I had a turn where I didn't get attacked. Now the Guardian Shields that Mu takes is going to help this, because that would not be considered a successful attack. The Guardian Shield is blocking that successful attack, so that is obviously quite nice. And this is why it could be good to hide Mu behind a shield, because they would potentially get aggro procs and get attack buffs, which were very, very nice. There was a character in the past, I think it was a League Store character, maybe Tara, and she was very aggressive, like an attack team character, but she obviously got some attack team procs, and I think she gave herself a massive defense buff on her active skill at the time, and she was very useful on a defense team if hidden behind the shield. And I can kind of see the potential here with Mu in the same sort of scenario because of the focus removal, camouflage removal, and pretty decent damage as well. If you get one other character in the team that is a Whisperer, you potentially could be doing 200-300% hits against attack team characters. It's going to be very, very problematic for those characters for sure. But primarily an attack team character. On the roadmaps, this is going to continuously scale. So if you're on the roadmaps that don't require you to be in a certain amount of time, you could potentially have like hundreds, if not thousands of % attack buff. And if you do want to try and use this character on something like Faction Assault just for fun, yeah, aggro on Faction Assault is great. I've used Zachary there, and it is pretty fun there as well. But yeah, it's a pretty decent specialist skill. The only issue is you have to stop this character from being attacked, and a lot of the time these sort of characters can get dogpiled. Now Mu does not have an attached weapon, although they have a very nice one in their art on the left hand side. Most likely will be coming to the game in some shape or form, maybe multiple weapons honestly, because I saw a bunch of daggers, but that like kind of serrated blade looks brutal. Kind of reminds me of a sword from a movie called Willow. There was a character in that who had a massive sword that kind of had this ridged part on the top. Kind of cool looking dagger for sure. But when it comes to the character weapon that you could put in their hands, they do need AP on attack because they have a 66 AP cost rush, and because they deal damage and they obviously can crit, you might want to go for just generally speaking a 1535 or an improved one just to get the most out of it. Now if you went for a double attack weapon or like an improved double attack, each of those individual attacks would have like a 60% chance to double attack, which potentially would be decent, but obviously would not work on that adrenaline rush. So this was Gold Mythic Mu, and like I said, potentially is a character coming to the advanced token. Well, I'm not 100% certain. Congratulations to all the people who did manage to get this character for free. Looks pretty decent, no doubt, for the stellar roadmaps. Might have some weird niche usage in the future, somewhere in war teams, on defense as a sly pick, or maybe on attack if other decent whisperers come out. We'll have to wait and see there, but this character doesn't look too bad, kind of interesting on the kit, but I do primarily see it as a stellar roadmap character, at least for the time being. Do let me know your thoughts though on Mu in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.